Welcome back to the Boneyard Podcast, everybody. This is your host, Jared Shafit, along with my good friend,
Artemis Brower.
We're coming to you this week with episode 185. 185.
Yes, sir.
Artie, how we doing, my friend?
We're not doing too bad. We're a lot better than we were a few days ago. I'll say that. I've been quiet in the chats, and I've been quiet overall because I've been battling the flu. Got that this past weekend.
Artie, flu game.
Yeah. Had my little flu bug this past weekend. I was in the bed. I probably slept a solid 16 hours straight. I think on Saturday or Sunday, one of those days, I was like completely dead to the world. So just now getting back in the swing of things, back to 100 yesterday. So, but we're good, man. The health is good now. We're back up. We're live, and we're good to be here. Excited to bring another episode of the Boneyard Podcast. How are you?
Let me ask, did you get a flu shot?
No.
Okay. I've never had a flu shot, and I've never really had the flu. So,
but the one time I did get a flu shot, I got the flu the same season. So it didn't do what it needed to do. So that's the first time I've gotten the flu. This year was the first time I got the flu since I was a kid. It's been about 15 years.
All right. Well, but no, Artie, things are good. Life's good. Kids good. Wife's good. Family's good. Everything's good here. We're peachy. We're just peachy here, Artie. Yeah, no complaints. Had a long weekend, which was nice.
Mm-hmm.
Got to spend some quality time with the fam. But Artie, episode 185. Do you have a number 85 for me?
I do have a number 85. Now, this guy that I'm about to mention, he's not chalk, even though he is an NFL Hall of Famer. He is a college football Hall of Famer, but not chalk. I don't think this is a name that a lot of people will know when I say the name. Maybe old heads might know the name, but I don't think anybody our age or younger is going to know the name. But that is one Jack Youngblood, former defensive end for the Los Angeles Rams of the National Football League. Just read off some of his stats because this was amazing when I saw him. First team or 5-time first team All-Pro, 3-time second team All-Pro, 7-time Pro Bowler, 2-time NFL sacks leader in 1974 and 1979. NFL 1970s All-Decade Team. He's in the St. Louis Football Ring of Fame. He's in the Los Angeles Rams Ring of Fame. Number 85 retired by the Rams. And he was first team All-SEC, first team All-American at Florida. So Jack Youngblood, OG, really, really, really famous defensive end. I did not know the name or did not know his credentials before I looked him up today. But that's my 85 for the week.
All right. That's a good one. I've got a couple, Artie, and I'm gonna rattle them off to you. I'm gonna give a shout out to our boy Brandon with the plug 85.
Always serving nuggets. Love Brandon.
CJ Johnson announced his number 85 in the UFL, so shout out to that.
I'll be watching UFL this season.
And then I'm gonna go. This is gonna be my chalk, Artie.
Okay.
Got to go Ocho Cinco.
Yeah,
that's chalk.
Of course, I was thinking it, but I couldn't go Ocho Cinco, man.
That's chalk. And then, Artie, the one I thought you were gonna take, and this is my present to you. I will announce it. The 1985 Super Bowl champion Chicago Bears.
Yeah, I was thinking the 85 Bears. I was
Bears.
But to me, that was too chalk. I didn't want to do that one either. But I was thinking that. That's a good one. It's an excellent one.
So I had 3, 85, CJ Johnson, shout out Brandon Avery, UFL, then Chad Ocho. You got to go Ocho Cinco.
I can't.
The man literally changed his name to 85.
That's true. That is true. That is true. As it pertains to my 85 Bears, I can't be too happy about it because I wasn't alive. So it's not like I can really claim it. Because I didn't see it.
That's how I feel about. That's how I feel about the 95 Braves. While I was 5 months old, I didn't enjoy it.
Right. So it's there, but it's not a championship I actually enjoyed. So,
yeah. Well, all right, Artie. Before we get started, let's do some housekeeping notes. Boneyard Podcast, proud to be members of the Variety Sports Podcast Network. Shout out to them. We if you didn't see, Artie, I don't know if you saw this. The 5-Hole Podcast made its second episode of the season earlier this week. We're recording every Monday night, 9 p.m. Eastern time. Make sure you subscribe at Variety Sports Network. Follow Variety Sports Network on social media. And Monday night, tune in. If you're a hockey fan, tune in. It's me and 3 other guys where we're just talking puck. So check that out. Lots of great content. I mean, baseball season, pitchers and catchers have reported. NFL season, I mean, we're getting ready for the draft. Will the Bears trade down? What's going to happen there? Are the Falcons going to get a quarterback? What's going to happen there? I mean, lots of storylines. Are Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce? We're not talking Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. We're not doing that. But lots of great content. And then also shout out to Purple and Gold Collective. Proud to be partnering with them. It's a new NIL collective. We'll be talking more about it as time goes on. But I mean, Todd and that crew, I mean, doing some great work so far. So stay tuned. Stay tuned on that. More to come on that front. Shout out Purple and Gold Collective. All right, Artie. Let's dive into it. We got a lot to talk about.
Let's do it.
Right, and we'll start off ECU football. There's been some non-conference adjustments, games getting shifted around. I've been seeing people are not very happy with what John Gilbert's doing with ECU's schedule, removing games from the schedule, canceling series, putting on some more FCS opponents, which to me, I'll give my stance, and then I'd love to hear yours on adding more FCS opponents. We saw the framework last year when Liberty had one of the easiest schedules in college football. As a group of 5 program, that's what was needed. You go undefeated, you get that top group of 5 spot, and now you're into the 12-team playoff. Now, Liberty got steamrolled by Oregon, so I do think that there is something to be said there about playing better quality opponents like likes of Cincinnati and UCF and Houston of years past. But you've got to also make sure that, hey, we're scheduling a light enough schedule where we're giving ourselves a shot. I love having the Power 5 teams on our schedule, and I wish we had more of them. But I understand from that stance. If that's his stance on it, I understand it. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I do get it, and from that standpoint, you got to win what's in front of you, right? You got to take the schedule as is and win what's in front of you if you're ECU football. And I would be lying if I said our schedule this upcoming season does not look enticing, right? It looks like a schedule that if we have everything rolling, if we do everything that we're supposed to do, we have a legitimate chance to win the 10 games, if not more. We have a realistic shot of getting the double-digit wins and writing our own history in the next year or two. Obviously, we want to have better competition. Obviously, we want the Carolinas and the States and the South Carolinas and the Virginia Techs on the schedule. That's what you want on there, right? That's what you've grown accustomed to as an East Carolina fan. Obviously, we still need to have marquee non-conference games to be considered legit. But you're right, Liberty had a nothing of a schedule, and they played Oregon in the Fiesta Bowl last year. So
look at Michigan's schedule last year.
Michigan's non-conference was cheeks. It was absolute cheeks.
And we were on it.
They cakewalk. Now, granted, they played stiff competition in the end and they got it done. But yes, it was some cheeks. But at the end of the day, whatever the schedule is, win what's in front of you. And I think for ECU as a program that is trying to get back to winning ways, I think it does help when you kind of do some more FCS scheduling, maybe soften your schedule a little bit, kind of create that winning culture again, and then maybe get it back to where you can, play up to your competition, schedule some more powerful non-conferences. But I see the vision. I definitely see what he's trying to do, especially with it going to a 12-team playoff. And if you win out, you have a legitimate shot of getting into that playoff. And once you get into the dance, that's all you can ask for. It's just getting into the dance and anything can happen. So
Yeah, for sure. All right, Artie, let's talk about some of these changes. So ECU's game in 2027 at South Carolina and Columbia has been moved to 2030. Okay, this may be getting ready for the SEC going to non-conference games.
yeah,
So that may be part of the reason why. Okay, ECU's 2027 game at Old Dominion has been moved up to 2026 and September 26th in Norfolk. Okay, then in 2026, ECU has added an FCS opponent in North Carolina Central, so NC Central for out of the MEAC. Okay, then in 2028, it's crazy that we're scheduling these games out so far in advance.
yeah,
But that's just the way world of college football. In 2028, ECU has added a game against Charleston Southern out of the Big South Ohio State Valley or the Ohio Valley Conference. And then lastly, ECU has added a 2030 game against Norfolk State, who we will see Labor Day weekend in Dowdy-Ficklen Stadium.
yeah.
Anything jump out from those changes?
Yeah, I love to see the scheduling of more of these HBCUs. I love to see the scheduling of Central. They're a pretty good program. They're definitely a program. If we don't button up, they can do to us what A&T did to us a couple years ago. So that's definitely not an easy one. I hate to see the South Carolina game get pushed to 2030. I really, really do. Looking forward to that one being in just a few short years. Now it's 6 years away, which it just sucks. But it is what it is. But outside of that, I mean, kind of just business as usual.
Yeah, and then as a reminder, in 2024, ECU's non-conference slate is Norfolk State. Then they travel up to Norfolk and play at Old Dominion. Then the next 2 weeks at home against App.
Yeah.
On the road at Liberty. I mean, you've got a pretty tough group of 5 non-conference schedule. You don't have any P5 teams on there, but you've got overall, I mean, Old Dominion, they're not too shabby, right?
They'll be game. They'll be game.
App State's gonna be playing to make it into the college football playoff.
Yep.
Liberty, we saw what they did last year.
Right.
Returning a bunch of key producers. So there's a lot of opportunity in the year 2024. While it's not P5 competition, it's pretty stout competition, at least when you're playing in the FBS level. 2025, Artie, Labor Day weekend. I know that you've got some plans Labor Day weekend already for 2025. First weekend, start the season off in Raleigh at the Wolfpack, at NC State. Come home, you play Campbell. That's your FCS team. Then you go on the road, play at Coastal Carolina. That's always going to be a fun matchup. Look, that's one that I'm looking forward to for years to come. I'm excited to see this rivalry kind of build and progress going forward. I mean, 2 East Coast teams playing, and ECU has the history. Coastal Carolina has the recent history. And then lastly, you got BYU coming into Dowdy. So lots of great opportunity over the next 2 years, Artie. Any game, I mean, of course, NC State is exciting.
And hate that I can't make the NC State game. Hate that you won't be able to make the NC State game that weekend. But we got bigger and better things to do. We got bigger and better things to do Labor Day weekend 2025. So, but I mean, outside of that Coastal, that Coastal one is definitely I'm geared up for that rivalry. Absolutely.
Yeah, and then I mean, already in 2026, just looking ahead, you got Central, App State, West Virginia, and then at Old Dominion once again. So the next 3 years aren't terrible.
No, they're not.
2027, Wake Forest and Georgia State are on the calendar.
I like the Wake game. I don't know why. I like the Wake. It's like we never play Wake ever, so I like that.
And it's right in our backyard.
Yeah. I like the Wake game.
I'm excited about that one. Considering I will have to drive all of 10 minutes to go to that game. 2028, NC State at home, Coastal Carolina at home, and then at Wake Forest. So 2027 is at ECU, 2028 is at Wake Forest. So
Nice.
I'm excited about that. I think Wake's a good schedule for ECU right now. I think that's a good team to have on the schedule. Hey, if Carolina's not going to schedule you, if NC State's not going to extend, I like to have Wake. I wouldn't mind adding Duke there either. All right, Artie, let's move on. Anything else on the schedule front?
No, I think we've talked about football enough, to be honest with you. But moving right along, got basketball to talk about. Hell of a weekend in basketball. We mentioned before we came on the podcast, it was kind of a Freaky Friday with basketball, right? Because you have the men kind of doing their thing, kind of stringing together a few wins here, and then the women surprisingly losing back-to-back games. But we'll just kind of dive right into it. We'll talk about men's basketball here first. 2-0 since our last episode, won 3 straight in AAC play. Now, granted, none of these wins have been against teams higher than them in the standings, but we sweep the season series with Wichita State. Also got a win against the Green Wave in Tulane this past weekend. So talk to me about ECU basketball. How do you feel about men's basketball sitting at 14-12? What are your thoughts? What are your thinkings about where this program is right now? How the team has responded over the last few days?
Yeah, over the last week and a half, we've seen it. They've been winning games, and it's starting to show that the team is kind of, I don't want to say coming together, because I don't want to make it seem like this team hasn't been bonded. But I think they're figuring it out how to play together and how to build off each other's strengths. We've seen it the last 2 games, RJ Felton and then Brandon Davis. Or Brandon Johnson, excuse me. I don't know where that came from, but Brandon Johnson really, kind of leading the way, and that's what it's been. Then you got Bobby Pettiford, Cam Hayes in there. This team has the potential, and we've seen it all year, playing in tight games against quality opponents, right? And they just haven't been able to get over the hump. It seems like now this basketball team is really starting to catch their stride and get hot at the right time. Now you've got some pretty good matchups coming up on the schedule. You got Memphis, I believe, in the next week or so, which Memphis has been struggling down the stretch. I think you've got 2 winnable games. You can extend this 3-game winning streak to longer. I do. I think that playing Rice and then playing Memphis, it's going to give you a good opportunity to really kind of make a move and get out of that middle ground in the conference.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And, kind of want to shout out a couple of guys here, RJ Felton, Brandon Johnson. Brandon Johnson recorded his 20th double-double as a Pirate. That's 8th all-time, which is just absolutely absurd. So shout out to Brandon Johnson. RJ Felton became the 34th player in school history to hit 1,000 points as a Pirate. So shout out to RJ Felton and Brandon Johnson. A few weeks ago, we were talking about Mike Schwartz' seat being hot. If we are, not finishing the season the way we want to be, is his seat kind of, is it getting hot, right? Is it on the verge of people saying, okay, I don't know if he's the guy? Do you think he's kind of right at the wrongs a little bit? Do you think he's riding the ship, or do you think it was never a situation that even more?
If people were saying Mike Schwartz's seat was hot 2 weeks ago, I want you to come out and apologize now, because he is quite possibly put together one of the best teams that ECU's had in the last 10 years, 15 years. And that's not saying much. Don't get me wrong. That's not saying much. But what I am saying is it's he's put together a team and has shown that we're competitive. We're competing with teams that are in the top 25. I mean, we've done it with South Carolina. They're in the top 25. Played close with Florida Atlantic until late. I mean, Florida, another team that while they're not in the top 25, I don't think we played them tight, right? So we've played quality opponents tight all year long, and we don't have anything to show for it. We've won the games that we're supposed to win. Yeah, we've dropped a couple that we shouldn't have along the way, and that's the growing pains of college basketball. That's the growing pains of any sport, is you're going to drop some along the way. But what we've seen over the past week and a half, 2 weeks, is this team is okay. We're beating the teams that we need to beat. We're over 500. We're 14-12. We're starting to build momentum going into the conference tournament.
No, completely and utterly agree. And look, I didn't even know this is the first time we've won 7 American Athletic Conference games in the season. That's this year. First time we've won 3 in a row in the conference. So no, the seat's not hot. The seat's not even warm. Give this man some time. Chill out. Stop being couch potatoes.
I do want to give a shout out to Pirate Zach 11 on social, on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. He did the digging, so I wanted to give him a shout out. ECU is 4-1 in quad 3 games. They're 9-3 in quad 4 games. So you're winning the games that you should win, right? Yeah. But they're combined 0-8 in quad 1 and quad 2. Okay, now you're 0-8, but 4 of those losses have come by scores of 1, 5, 6, and 8. So they've lost by 1, 5, 6, and 8 points in 4 of those 8 games. Right. So that's what I'm saying is you're close to really putting together a really impressive season here at ECU, and you can do nothing but build on it going forward. So Mike Schwartz's seat, not hot. I think his seat is very comfortable right now.
Yeah, completely agree. And now on the flip side of that, ECU women's basketball, the darlings, the team that had all the momentum, thought the week, this team's got everything going for them. They can finish, 7, 8, 9 games over 500 if they want to. They've lost 3 in a row, got beat down to Rice. Did not see that one coming at all. Completely beat down to Rice. Lost to Memphis in the nail biter 72-70. And then tonight, just recently, not too long ago, lost to South Florida 78-68 at home. In which the Bulls led all 4 quarters. What do you think is going on with this women's basketball team right now while we're on this skit?
I think really it's the injuries finally catching up to ECU. Yeah. I mean, and don't get me wrong, South Florida, Rice, both those teams are above you in the standings. I believe Memphis is also. So overall, you're not losing to teams that you should be beating. You're losing to teams that are ahead of you. It would have been nice to win those games, but I'm not as concerned. Mm-hmm. And with you got 4 games left in the season. Finish the season strong. You got a tough one coming up with North Texas. Finish the season strong, and you're going to be able to maybe make a run in the conference tournament like we did last year. I'm not too worried about Kim McNeil. I'm not too worried about this team. Are my expectations a little tempered now? Yes. I mean, now that we're kind of going through this rough stretch, mm-hmm. if we can't get it figured out in the next game or two, then I'm going to be really kind of concerned going into conference tournament play. But if we get it figured out, go into the conference tournament on a high streak, I'll be just fine with that.
Yeah, like you said, I'm expectations are definitely tempered, but we're not hitting the panic button. I think, obviously, like you said, the injuries are finally starting to catch up to us, and we are losing to some pretty good competition. Would have loved to have seen us steal 1 or 2 of those games, obviously. But these next 2 games, I think we can right the ship. Like you said, SMU, North Texas on my birthday. All right, Tuesday, February 27th. At least get us a dub on my birthday. That's all I ask. Bring Artemis a birthday dub. against North Texas. That's all I'm asking for. That's what I want for my birthday.
The big 2-9.
Yes.
Artie.
Ooh,
Okay.
don't say it, man. Last year in my 20s. Don't say it. Don't say it.
Well, 29 years old, young, whatever you want to call it. All right, real quick. We're gonna get to baseball here in a minute. I know that's what everybody's listening for, but got to give a shout out to ECU softball. 11-1 on the season. Another strong week for the Pirates. Winning a lot of clutch games. I mean, I believe they've won on at least 2 or 3 walk-offs at this point, and we're just 2 weeks into the season. 9 hitters currently averaging over 300 with at least 15 at bats. The team ERA is 1.11. Opponents are 7.56. Emma Jackson leading the NCAA with 24 hits, 10 doubles, 571 batting average. Morgan Johnson, leading the NCAA in total RBIs with 21. The Pirates are hot, man.
11-1, yeah.
Rank these ladies.
I was honestly, before we came on the show, I was looking to see if they were ranked. They're not ranked in any capacity.
Not yet.
In any capacity. 11-1 does not get you ranked.
You still got a lot of undefeated teams already.
That is true. And I know you got your Oklahomas and your Texas and your LSUs of the world. I get all that.
In college softball, it's not uncommon for a team to only have two losses,
right?
1 loss. Or there's been undefeated teams in college softball. So, but hey, put some respect on their name.
Yeah,
the Lady Bucks. I know they don't want us to use that, but the Lady Pirates. Put some respect on them and get out there. Hey,
why'd you use it?
Hey, I don't care. I think it says in there, don't call them the Lady Pirates, but that's from ECU, not from ECU softball. But all right, Pirate Invitational this weekend. Lots of softball to be had in ECU. So Towson comes into town Friday. North Carolina Central later in the day Friday. Ryder, who we just saw in baseball on Saturday. Then Towson again on Saturday. North Carolina Central again on Sunday. So get over there. Hey, if you want a little pregame for what's to come on Sunday in Clark LeClaire, go support these ladies. And then tomorrow night or next week, excuse me, I read this wrong. Next week, huge game against NC State at home, 4:00 on ESPN Plus. So check it out. All right, Artie, baseball. Baseball, number 11 in the country. Sitting at 3-1. Got a great start this past weekend. Outscoring Ryder 30-2 with Ryder's 2 runs coming off of solo home runs by the same guy, a freshman. I honestly can't remember his name. I want to say it was Neri, something like that. Anyways, 16-2 on opening night. Then you shut them out the next 2 nights, 7-0 both games. Artie, what was your feeling after Sunday?
This is where we need to be. This is exactly where I expected us to be. Taking care of business against Ryder, doing exactly what we needed to do, getting prepared for camp. I knew, and it wasn't that I was trying to take Ryder for granted or overlook Ryder. When you're a program of our caliber, though, you don't lose series to Ryder. You don't go 2-1 to Ryder. You go ahead, take care of your business. You flex your muscle. You sweep that series. You get prepared for the first real true test of the season, which was Campbell. Obviously, we know what happened with Campbell. We'll talk about that. But, that was business as usual to me.
Yeah, that felt like, okay, we took care of business. That first game against Campbell is always a tough one. Shout out.
They got our number, man. They do. Campbell's got us right now.
Shout out to that catcher turned pitcher that also hit a 3-run bomb off us. That dude, you want to talk about bad to the bone. That guy was bad to the bone last night. And Campbell's victory over the Pirates, 7-6. Look, talking about that game, Artie, Pirates made mistakes. We've seen it last year during the midweek game. We made mistakes. I don't know if I don't think the moment's too big, but it just seemed like there was pressure, right? And Coach Hare at Campbell plays a very like aggressive style of baseball.
Yeah.
Squeeze bunting. I mean, plays very similar to how the Pirates will play, right?
Yeah.
Play small ball and gonna force your hand. ECU, when their hand was forced, they weren't able to execute. I mean, you had Jacob Starling who dropped the ball on the tag on a stolen base. That's an error that extended the inning. That led to a run. And then Justin Wilcoxon throwing it into center field in the bottom of the ninth, or bottom of the eighth, excuse me, to give Campbell a shot to tie it up and then eventually take the lead in the eighth inning.
Yeah.
And then you left 11 guys on base. You can't do that.
Cannot leave 11 guys.
Campbell, in my opinion, is the top 20 team in the country. They beat UCSB, California, Santa Barbara, top 20 team in the country. Took the series from them over the weekend, beat us. They're a top 20 team. Honestly, probably a top 15 team in the country. They're going to be a hard out come June. And the Pirates will see them in CLS later on this season. Want to give a quick shout out to a friend of the podcast, Parker Bird.
Yes.
How cool is that? How cool is that?
Yo, he made national news and everything. Like CBS.
My grandmother texted me today and said, "Do you know this Parker Bird kid? He's on Fox News." And I was like, "Yeah, I know Parker Bird." She was like, "Are you gonna have him on the podcast?" I was like, "Go check it out. It's like episode 130." Yeah. Come on, Grandma. Go listen to the podcast. Support
Absolutely
your grandson.
Awesome story, man. Awesome. But we knew he would get back to this point. I mean, just having him on, we knew that he was going to work his tail off to put himself in a position to get to that point. So,
for sure, yeah. And then Artie, this weekend, it's a big one. I always love this series because I love the aspect of traveling. ECU, Carolina. Game 1 at Chapel Hill, Game 2 at a neutral site in Fayetteville, Segra Stadium in Fayetteville, and then Sunday back home in Greenville. Welcome to the jungle, ECU versus UNC. We're going to bring on our guest. She's been waiting in the wings long enough. Emily Messer joins the Boneyard Podcast as a UNC alum, super fan, who also lives in Greenville. She and I have gone back and forth on Twitter, talking about the Braves, part of Braves Twitter. Emily, welcome to the Boneyard Podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
So the Tar Heels start off 4-0. I mean, make pretty easy work of Wagner, and then won a close game last night against Elon off of a Vance Honeycutt grand slam. What's going on with the Tar Heels so far this year?
Well, Vance is a stud, like always. He got his 40th home run. He's had 50 stolen bases in his career. So, I mean, and he's a North Carolina boy, born and bred. We're young, though. Like, we're really young this year. So I think that Wagner series, of course, it's Wagner. Kind of like you said against Ryder, like y'all are expected to beat Ryder. Of course, we're expected to beat Wagner. But they came out, they like 46 runs this weekend. They had 10 stolen bases, I think, in Sunday's game, because I was at Clark LeClaire, so I was listening to Sunday's game in my ear. But I don't know. I love this series, like you said. It's fun for me, especially living in Greenville. Like it's an in-state rivalry. Don't get much better between two top 15 teams who are consistently good. So.
And Emily, what do you think we're going to see like in this matchup this weekend? Carolina, ECU. Do you think it's going to be fireworks? Do you think it's going to be slow going? Like what do you think we're going to see in this matchup? And I love that every team gets a chance to be home, away, and neutral. I love that kind of a series. So what do you think we're going to see in this matchup?
I think we're going to see one of the closer scoring ones. It's always pretty close. I think there's going to be people on either sides that can break out and hit those home runs, hit the long ball like JCC or Vance Honeycutt for us. But it's going to come down to pitching like normal. We have 2 freshmen in our weekend rotation, so we'll see how they hold up.
Yeah, wasn't it y'all's Friday starter who went down right before the season?
Yeah.
Was that y'all? Yeah.
Mhm.
Talk to me about, your rotation going into the weekend.
Yeah.
ECU's got a pretty strong weekend rotation, but what's going on with Chapel Hill?
Yeah, so, honestly, I don't know a lot about these guys because they're brand new to the program. So we have freshman Friday. I think he's a junior on Saturday, and then a freshman again for Sunday.
Will they go with the
So
same rotation?
order
Folger, is it Boaz,
Boaz,
and then Dalton Pence
Pence,
on Friday and
and
Saturday?
well, it depends because Pence can sometimes be our closer. So if Boaz gets in trouble on Friday, they might bring Pence in then. And then our bullpen's pretty solid and is the stronger side, honestly, I think. So that's one thing we didn't have last year that I really trusted. So I trust a little bit more. But I would almost hope they'd rather do like if they have to do a bullpen game, do it on Saturday and not on Sunday. uh,
Will you be at all 3 games, or are you just going to one, going to 2?
Saturday and Sunday.
Saturday and Sunday. Okay.
Yeah, because Friday my husband has to work. But yeah, I'll be the one little dot of blue down the first base line.
I'm sure there will be more blue than just one little dot.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like many. It doesn't feel like many, but and that's where it's a senior. It's our senior Saturday, Ben Peterson. I should know that. But I don't know. I don't know what to say. I think the game will come down to one who manages better, but everybody always says that. And then also we have 2 of our infielders and our catcher are freshmen and our right fielder. So also how do they stand up to it? I'm glad our left fielder is a little more experienced given some of the chanting y'all do in the jungle.
It's not the nicest.
Hey, at least he's in left field. They're a little more tame than they are in right field. Right field's gonna probably hear some things that you probably wouldn't want to be heard by some of the younger kids. So
Yeah.
Now,
sorry if that's not in-depth analysis. I've been like sick all day, so I'm kind of.
We were talking about Artie having his flu podcast. I've had a couple on this show, but now I wanted to talk because you have the interesting perspective of you live in Greenville, and
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember how we really how I figured that out on social media. We're both part of Braves Twitter.
Yeah.
And
we post stadium selfies all the time. I drag my
that's probably it. I feel like I saw you and then you posted like a picture at Clark LeClaire and I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
But talk to me. I mean, you go to Clark LeClaire. I mean, you live in Greenville. You're a fan of ECU when it's not Chapel Hill.
When it's not Chapel Hill, yeah. Or I went to VCU for my grad school. So when y'all play VCU on a Tuesday.
Okay.
But otherwise, I mean, honestly, we probably have more ECU gear in this house than we do Carolina because my stepson's a huge ECU fan. I mean, he grew up in Greenville. So yeah, it's interesting for me because that's what's hard. I was joking about it the last year because I was really excited, like, of course, when we won at Clark LeClaire, but like y'all had us on the ropes there. And I was like getting excited when Hoove came up. And then I was like, no, I can't cheer for him right now. Like I need to sit back down. And yeah, so that's one of the things from the outside looking in. I mean, I'm going to talk my trash this weekend, but I think ECU's they're well-rounded and they always have someone that pops up that you're not expecting. It's not like you just have the 1 or 2 superstars. Like, of course, like Savage, the pitcher, like that's who like everybody knows. But there's going to be a pitcher that I'm like, who is that guy? And he shuts us down, but it's
there's a lot of depth, at least there's a lot of depth on this ECU team, and they're not too old, but they're not like Carolina where you get a lot of freshmen.
Right.
You got a lot of guys that have been there. I mean, now you do have like Dixon Williams, who is still kind of new to the everyday lineup. And that's the thing is ECU is built, and as you know this, like ECU is built to compete every year. Carolina is the same way, but this year they're kind of may go through some growing pains with having a bunch of freshmen in the starting lineup, but that builds for next year and the year after. I wonder what it's going to be like for them playing in the atmosphere, ECU versus Carolina, like you said, a top 15 matchup all weekend.
And the second weekend, like, I mean, it's your second weekend playing college ball. And that's what you have to go into.
I texted Parker Bird and I said, don't worry about the walk. That first hit's going to be a walk-off against Carolina next weekend. So here's to hoping.
I mean, no, but I would love it for Parker. But see, that's one of those things. Like, I would jump up and cheer to be like, oh, never mind. But if we win Friday and Saturday, he can walk it off Sunday. I'll give him Sunday if we get the series.
On the flip of that, though, like what's the atmosphere like in Chapel Hill? Because I've never actually witnessed a baseball game in Chapel Hill. Obviously, we know what the jungle was like. We know what Clark LeClaire is like. What's that atmosphere going to be like in Chapel Hill?
So we have no seats in the outfield. It's all trees. In a dorm, and then some kids sit at the field hockey stadium, and you can like peer over into baseball. But we have nobody in the outfield. Did you go to Virginia, the Virginia Stadium for the?
No, I went to Boshemer last year.
Yeah.
My wife went to Carolina, so I'm very familiar with Boshemer and UNC.
Same situation. And we I say Virginia because it's kind of set up the same way where like our concourses are there. It's kind of spread out. It's all chairback, so that's lovely. But
that's that swanky wine and cheese money.
That's Carolina money right there.
It's that George Steinbrenner courtyard money we got up there. But I mean, it's not. We're sold out, and we're sold out, but it's not going to feel the same.
It doesn't feel.
It can get crazy. Now, what's weird is my parents' season tickets are right on the line beside the visitors, which is probably not the best place to have me sit. But so, I mean, it gets really, really loud where we're sitting, but the visitors are right there. So, I feel like I'm not answering this question. I just don't want to talk bad about my school, but it is. We'll get into it, but not as into it. People aren't going to stand for 3.5 hours for a game at Carolina. There's going to be very few of us.
They got to drink their Merlot, Artie.
I was about to say, I know they're going to have the Gruyere and the Gouda passing around. So.
Even our BLTs are like $15. That's absurd. If you've never had a Merit's BLT and you'd go to Chapel Hill, grab one while you're there. They're delicious.
But I think I actually ordered an IPA when I was there, Artie.
Wow.
They have the same one at Clark LeClaire this year. It replaced the Pernicious. So
I didn't know Clark LeClaire had Pernicious. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, at least they did it Sunday. It's by the R&D who make the Pirates Brew.
Yeah. Okay.
So
okay.
I think it's called 7 Saturdays or something. Anyway, sorry.
Love that.
Good to know.
Well, Emily, we won't keep you much longer, but since you are a Greenville native and live there, I do want to ask you the question we ask anybody that's associated with ECU or Greenville. There's a little known establishment called Sup Dogs.
I'm ready.
Right there on Fifth Street.
We got it.
There you go.
This is what I'm telling you. The divide.
There. Hey, one of us.
That's what I told my husband. I'm not drinking vodka. I am supporting ECU, right? It supports Team Boneyard. So
now let me ask you, what's your order when you go to Sup Dogs?
Oh, I normally stick with wings, honestly.
Okay. Hey, the wings aren't bad.
Wings, sometimes onion rings to go with them. I'm the cherry crush swirl,
Cherry
the cherry
Crush.
swirl
Okay.
one.
Okay.
Yeah.
That one is good.
That's
I
my
can vouch.
beverage. The
Get
orange
any
one, the
mini
original's not
blinkers.
bad, but and see, Chapel Hill copied y'all there. They opened one on Franklin Street. So
Hey, Brett is a longtime friend of the podcast.
yeah.
So shout out to him. Just don't put one in Raleigh. They don't deserve one.
Yeah. They
We
don't,
can
they
all
don't
agree
need
on
one in
that.
Raleigh. Yeah, they don't need one in Raleigh.
No, they don't. And I that was last year. I know y'all are trying to get off of here, but we went after Little League practice. We went to the NC State ECU game. And my poor stepson, he's like, I'm kind of tired. I'm like, no, we're watching ECU play them. Like,
Get over it, kid.
yeah. Like you said, when they're not playing Carolina, like, hey.
You
And
can
it's
all-
fun. It's fun to root for the hometown team. Like, they have a lot of heart. How can you not love Cliff Godwin? How can you not love, like, you talked about Parker, how they rallied around him. Still honoring Coach LeClaire. Like, it's a good school. I
That
just
number
won't
23
say
is
that
going to
this
get retired
weekend.
this year. Hey, yeah, we love it. And I used to have a deep hatred for Carolina, but now
Can't
that
do it no more.
now that my wife was on a full ride scholarship to Chapel Hill. Shout out Roy for helping out with that. Like, look, I'm all for it. Go Chapel Hill, except for this weekend and really any other weekend. But I'm not gonna hate y'all like I hate State.
And that's what I think the rivalry is about, because you have so many families divided. So on Monday we can be family again.
We will be family. But Emily, thank you. Have fun this weekend. Unfortunately, I'm trying to convince my wife to let me go Sunday, but unfortunately, I don't think we'll be able to make it. I think some of our team will be there, but
well, we have one extra jungle ticket. So if you know someone who needs one, let us know.
Pirate Nation, hit up Tar Heels Emily, blow her up on X. So shout out, and then I'm excited for the Brave season this year. So gonna be fun.
It's gonna be weird with Wash not there. Honestly, that of all the movement in MLB this year, Wash leaving. Yeah.
I mean, you lost both your base coaches. So
but
we can talk Braves baseball. That's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah.
There's enough Braves baseball podcasts, but Emily and I could probably put together a Braves baseball podcast. But sure. Emily, thanks for jumping on. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great weekend, and go Pirates.
Go Yales.
Good catching up. Like I said, we've gone back for the last 2 or 3 years on social media. She also our good friends, the Hill Brothers podcast out of Chapel Hill. She does a segment with them quite often on their podcast. So check them out, Hill Brothers. Artie, let's see. Do you have a walk the plank?
No. Well, yes, but I think it's a unanimous walk the plank. And I'm gonna let you take the floor on that one. But outside of that one, no, I don't have a walk the plank.
Okay, it is Tony Weffren says.
However the hell you spell his last name, who gives a shit?
Nobody gives a shit, dude. Doesn't matter. The guy, I'm trying to find the actual tweet. People absolutely murdered him.
Oh yeah, I mean they came after this. I mean they came after this dude's life, his entire life.
I mean
they had his whole discography in 15 minutes.
I mean, people were calling him out. People were calling him out. The tweet, Tony Winch, unpopular opinion, ECU publicity stunt is not meaningful since it wasn't competitive. Talked a bunch about how Parker couldn't get out of the way of a fastball if it was thrown at him, yada, yada, yada. Tony, you can walk the damn plank. This day, tomorrow, last day, whatever. Get the hell out of here. Nobody gives a shit. And yes, I saw people saying things about there were some differing reports on whether he was a registered sex offender. Turns out it wasn't him, but somebody else was quick on the draw to figure out that this guy had filed for bankruptcy. So, dude, what are you doing?
They had this man's whole
They had
life
him dead to
story.
rights.
Like, oh my goodness,
bro!
Remind me not to piss off ECU Twitter.
Do not come at ECU Twitter unless you're going to come correct. That's all I'm going to say. Do not come at us unless you're going to come correct.
So like Salem witch trials,
dude. I mean, it was instantaneously that they had this whole man's life on blast.
But there's just no need to say some dumb shit like that. I mean, it's a beautiful moment. Just accept the moment for what it is, as a beautiful moment, nothing more, nothing less, right? What are you expecting to gain by getting on Twitter and saying some dumbass shit like that? Like, what do you think you're going to gain from that? It just makes no sense.
Yeah. But that's really my only walk the plank. I can't think of any others that had me up in a tizzy over the weekend. Josh, NASCAR started. I know people were upset that the Daytona 500, there was stuff going on with the Daytona 500.
Oh, yeah, what happened? I got pushed back to Monday. I know it's supposed to be on Sunday.
What was everybody talking about on NASCAR?
So, first of all, the race did get pushed. Both the Xfinity race from Saturday and the Cup race from Sunday got pushed to Monday. Ran Cup first, and then Xfinity. So the controversy was at the end of the Cup race, the timing of the flags. So in NASCAR, when you take the white flag, the next flag ends the race. When you're on the last lap, the next flag ends the race.
Right.
The question initially was, did the leader get the white flag? Or was the light still green? Or did it turn yellow before they crossed the start-finish line to get the white flag? Well, the white flag waved. So then it was a matter of, okay, when does the caution light finally turn on? Because at one point, Alex Bowman, who came in second place for Hendrick Motorsports over 48, he ended up in front of William Byron, the eventual winner. And so the question was, did William Byron cross first? Or did he get the yellow flag, or was it Alex Bowman? The timing loop and everything, the scoring loop, had William Byron winning, which either way, it was a Hendrick Motorsports car. But William Byron, I mean, his story is story's great. I mean, he started out iRacing on computers, and now he's Daytona 500 champion. Like, it doesn't get better than that.
Gran Turismo type shit. That's okay.
Yeah. Hey, he started out on a racing sim, so
I'm something that y'all may not know about me. I used to be really big into NASCAR, like going to 3-4 races a year. Big. I mean, grew up 5 minutes from Richard Childress. I'm trying to get back into it. I can't pull for Austin Dillon. I just can't do it. Josh, any recommendations on who I should pull for?
I always tell people this: find a manufacturer first, find a team in the manufacturer, then find a driver within the team.
I mean, I've always been a Chevy guy. My grandfather worked for General Motors. We got us the booth tickets. I think I've told the story on the podcast before. I used to sit up next to Richard Childress in the General Motors booth at Charlotte. Was talking to him. I was a Hendrick Motorsports guy. I'm not ashamed to admit it. Growing up, I was a Jeff Gordon fan. What kid wasn't?
I wasn't.
Okay, Josh.
Jimmy Johnson, 7 times.
Same team. Same team. I mean, Hendrick Motorsports. I just don't, because William Byron, he drives the 24 car now.
Right.
And you said Alex Bowman drives the 48, correct?
Right.
That's my thing is, I was watching racing back when Winston was you had tobacco and cigarettes still in the game, right? Like people would turn guys. I know that they'll turn them still, but I love that. I don't know, that old school racing. I don't understand, Josh. I just need to talk to you, man, because I don't understand the competition yellows. I don't understand the stages. I don't understand any of that anymore.
Yeah.
That's what has turned me off from trying to get back into NASCAR. I would love to get back into it. I kept talking all weekend. I was like, the Daytona 500s this weekend. Gonna watch the Daytona 500. And my wife was like, you never watched the Daytona 500. I was like, I'm going to this weekend. And then I watched it and I was like, what is this? What is this stage? I don't understand. What's the point of this? Can you explain?
Yeah, so stages are, to me, they are a great addition on some races, right? Basically, it's a way to help strategize and build in cautions when a race goes long. For instance, we had a race last year. They only had, I think, 2 cautions the entire race outside of the stages. I mean, for me, I don't want to see a race where someone ends up 7 laps down because they simply just kept getting lapped. Like, I want it to be where if you're 7 laps down, you had to sit in the pits for a little bit. I want us to make sure that we get restarts. I want to see, I want to see strategy play out based
Actual
on
racing.
like at Daytona this past weekend or Monday, the stages are set longer than the fuel in the vehicle can last. So it makes the strategy of, do you go for the stage points, which carry over into the playoffs, or do you go to set yourself up to win the race? And so it's that game within the game that you have to really think about. And the strategy that ended up winning was not the strategy of being conservative. It was just go for it, keep going for it. And when the checkered flag finally waved, which we didn't actually get a checkered flag, we got a yellow flag to end the race. I mean,
Also, bring back race into the flag.
No. Because and that's the thing. That's another thing with this race, with this particular situation was, yeah, we would have loved to have seen them finish out that last lap. But when you see a driver come back up the racetrack and stall at the top, I don't want to see people racing 189 back to him. Like if they would have been
Robbins
in the grass,
racing.
If they would have been in the grass, I get it. But I don't want to see them charging back at these 2 drivers while they're middle of the racetrack.
That's fair.
Put them in the fence like that Carl Edwards in what was that, Talladega?
Talladega, Carl
I
Edwards,
mean,
yeah. That was wild.
I'm here for the chaos.
That's because you're not racing.
Josh, you and I are going to talk some NASCAR because I've got thoughts and I would love to get back into it. Growing up, I didn't miss a race. I didn't miss. I mean, Artie and I are an hour and a half away from Martinsville.
I mean, we're in the middle of all these different tracks we can get to within.
Bring back the Rock too.
Yeah,
I used to go to plenty of races at the Rock.
Oh, Bowman Gray right down the road used to hold a whole bunch of those races. So.
Well, you got Bowman Gray still in the summer. Artie, you need to get to Bowman Gray.
I do.
Josh, have you been?
Yeah,
I haven't. I grew up at Hickory though. I go to Wake County now.
Okay.
I still go to Charlotte.
Come down to Winston. I'll take you to Bowman Gray. I say it's the redneck capital of the world, and I mean it.
Oh yeah. You got to experience Bowman Gray.
It is absolutely wild. The madhouse, as they call it. Josh, you and I, we're going to talk off air about some NASCAR because I want to get into it. I do. I would like to.
I just want to educate on it. Just educate me because I'm a nuance. I don't. Just educate me on it.
Like I said, that's when I stopped watching. Was what is that?
Pit Bull. This is his race team. Trackhouse.
Trackhouse.
MJ has a race team now.
Exactly. 2311. Hold on.
Oh, I forgot about MJ's race team. That's true.
Yeah, with Denny Hamlin. If you're still watching right now, shout out to you. If you're listening.
we're just talking nonsense.
If you're still listening, shout out to you.
This is what we do after the show.
Yeah, this you're seeing a peek behind the curtain. This is what we talk about after the show. Shout out before Josh shows this. Shout out to the Variety Sports Network. Follow us on social media at Boneyard Podcast.
Okay, Daniel Suarez. I'm sorry.
At Boneyard Podcast on TikTok at the Boneyard Podcast. Shout out Tar Heels Emily for jumping on. Shout out Variety Sports Network. Leave us a 5-star review. If you don't, you can walk the damn plank. If you do, you're a best friend of the podcast for life. Josh, boogity, boogity, boogity.
Is that a pin?
What?
Yeah, Hall of
the
Fame pin.
The pins, man. Pins are
Hall
all.
of Fame pin.
I used to have my hat.
Hey.
My head would hurt because I had all those pins poking out of my hat into my head. I'd walk around. I'd have a headache for 3 days.
Look good though, I bet.
Man, oh man, I could talk NASCAR all day long. All right, Artie, let's get out of here.
Let's do it. Hey, as always, Pirate Nation, we appreciate you. We love you. Wash your hands, wash your butts. Till next week. Deuce.
Peace.